You can use a scatter brush to create some very cool artwork such as falling leaves or footsteps. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to quickly draw out a leaf shape, and it's not going to be anything to write home about, just something like a maple leaf or something like that. Something very fast and pretty bad actually, because I'm going fast enough just to show you what I'm going to do with this here. I'm going to give it a color, and I'll give it a stroke, let's see here, of a darker green. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to then give the stroke a little bit more weight. And let's see here, one more thing, I'll put a little bit of a leaf thing going on inside there. And I'm going to also, I think with my brush, I'm going to, let's see what I'm going to do here. No, I think I will draw out a little bit of that branch myself. And I'm going to put that in the background after I fill this in with a brownish color. And I'm simply going to send this to the back. So I'm going to go to Object, Arrange, Send to Back. Then I'll group this. So this is going to be the leaf that we're going to use for the scatter brush. So I'm going to click on my Brushes panel, and I'm going to drag this guy right on in anywhere. And I'm going to choose New Scatter Brush. Of course, I have some options here. The first one, of course, is to name it. So I'll call it Leaf. And then I can choose the size of that brush. I'm going to make it 50%. I can also change the spacing of that brush later on. I'm going to move this over to the side right now because I don't need that at the moment. Now I'm going to grab my pen, and I'm going to get rid of the fill, and I'm going to draw out a random stroke like this and click once on my leaf. And as you see, my scatter brush shows me my leaf pattern on it. And I'm going to edit that now by making sure that this is still selected and double clicking on my leaf pattern. I'm going to click preview so I can now play around with some of the options. For example, size, and we have spacing. So I can change how many leaves I'm going to get and how close they are to one another with the spacing. So I want a lot of leaves, so I'm going to reduce my spacing down to about 18%. And here's the fun part, the scatter. So I can really determine how these leaves are going to be presented in this pattern by scattering them in either the positive or in a negative fashion with the degrees here, or percentage, and a rotation. I can also change how these options work as far as whether they're fixed, random, or whether they're dealt with the pressure applied by your Wacom tablet if you're using some kind of digital stylus and pad like I have here. And I have other options as well. So I'm going to put random on that, random on my spacing, random on everything. And then I'm going to show you something new here. Whenever you do choose random, your slider, or rather these sliders here, are divided, they're split. So we can have a range. So it's going to tell this artwork to choose to rotate this from this range to this range. And the rotation will be randomized in between these values here. And I can do the same thing with scatter. So I can have a lot more control over what's happening with my shape, and I can get a more interesting result. So I can have small leaves, large leaves, and everything. I'm going to click OK. And when you click OK, once again, you are presented with this option to apply the changes to the existing stroke or to use this on any future stroke. So I'm going to go ahead and apply that. And as you see, we have the scatter brush and the options that we set. So use the scatter brush with artwork that you create yourself, or if you want to, choose a symbol. You can use symbols as well. So I can grab this bird, throw that there, go back to my brushes and toss him right on in and create a new scatter brush. And once again, I can draw with this brush as it is, and I can move this over and I can draw with a brush stroke, or I can use a regular old path that I draw with my pen tool and click on this bird. And once again, double click on it and change the scatter options to suit your needs. If you want to get rid of any of these brushes at any time, just click on it and drag it to the trash.